Okay, Dylan has asked me to get somebody in front of me and to talk real estate, and I wanted to introduce Ashely Wise. Ashely has been a real estate broker with us for 3 years, almost to the day, right?
Yeah, I hit my 3 years on the 9th.
On the 9th. Yep. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So I wanted to share with whoever's going to pay attention to this, an agent that started with Tribeca as a brand new agent, 3 years in the business. How much business have you done? What have you learned? And what can you share with me and the listening audience?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think is that real estate is always evolving, right? It's always changing. So there's been ups, there's been downs, and there's been amazing memories. I have 98 transactions that I've successfully closed or have pending, which means 98 families that I've been able to help into or out of the homes that they had. So that's been really amazing, the different relationships that I've been able to build over these 3 years.
So 98 transactions in 3 years. So that's almost 33 transactions per year. And that, for the most part, would make a real estate agent's broker's career. What would you say was your biggest contributor to help you close an average of almost 33 transactions per year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that where you hang your license absolutely matters. So having a brokerage that's going to help you out by providing you with the best opportunities to be successful would be first. And I think for me, it was also finding kind of my niche. I work primarily with VA clients. So I work with a lot of veterans. And so learning that process inside and out and being able to navigate it really successfully has helped me be able to close this many transactions.
Awesome. Yeah, it's phenomenal for me to watch what you've done in such a short period of time. But I also know that the first 6 months were not as easy as you would think. So if the numbers are a little bit skewed because that first 6 months you didn't do a lot of business. Nope. So really almost 98 transactions in 2.5 years. So talk a little bit about what that first 6 months was like for you.
That first 6 months was challenging. I only ended up doing 2 transactions. But I was here grinding every single day trying to build up a business. And that's one thing coming from traditional retail into a career like this that you don't realize is just how hard you're going to have to work to get started. So even if you're given opportunities, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go anywhere unless you're showing up and you're putting in the work and you're forming those relationships. So, I definitely was put through the emotional ringer those first 6 months, finding clients that you thought were going to go somewhere and you worked so hard with, and then they decided they weren't going to buy right now or went another direction. And, it's kind of heartbreaking. But then you find those clients that you really connect with, and you see the smile on their face when you close them and hand them their keys, and you forget all about those trying things that you had gone through to get here. So those first 6 months were definitely about that. We're about learning the emotional ups and downs and how to manage that and navigate that to get to a place where I had clients that were consistent.
Yeah, I know, because I think when we interviewed, I told you that this is probably one of the most emotional careers that you could take or do, and to expect to experience all of those emotions.
Well, I thought I was prepared because I came from the bridal world where, that's emotional. It's a big emotional purchase and you're managing that on a daily basis, but it's definitely different being over here.
Yeah, so that brings up another point I want to ask. You already got to it because you shared with us what you did before, but in a recent video that we had done, we talked about what makes a good real estate broker. So now you're not only a real estate agent yourself, you also mentor other newer agents. So what would you say, what does it take, and what makes a really good real estate agent?
I think being self-motivated is going to be number one. And really just showing up. I think that the agents that come into the office, they, hit their laptops, they hit their phones, they're calling up clients and making connections. Those are the ones that are going to be the most successful. There's a lot of people that get into this industry thinking that, I get to set my own schedule, I get to do my own thing, and they're a little bit lazy about it, and your business isn't going to come to you. You have to go out there and find the business. So, being able to show up and self-monitor yourself to be successful is super important. At Tribeca, we'll give you the tools that you need to be successful, but we can't make you use them. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Okay. Well, that's a great answer. So now we're faced with a different market. I know the last couple of years where there was an abundance of buyers and there were abundance of sellers, and the mindset has shifted, right? For both
Right.
buyers and sellers. For buyers, it was, I got to win at all costs. And then for sellers, it was like they could sit back and they could just watch the cash register just go cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So what do you think right now, having experienced that market and going into a different market, what are some of the things that you're going to do differently and that you would have done in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so this is something that we talked about earlier today, actually, where it's actually kind of a good thing for us. We have worked so hard over these last 2 years where I'd have 30 showings in a day, write up 15 offers, and hope that one of them gets accepted, and it was exhausting. Now, if we have a qualified, ready-to-buy buyer, we can get them into a house. We don't have to give up a bunch of things to be able to do that. You can have your inspections. You can have everything that you need to make you feel secure in the purchase that you're making. So we're going to have to work a little bit harder with each client that we have, maybe as far as nurturing them to make sure that they're really ready to make this leap. But once you are, we can get you into a house.
Absolutely.
So it's really an exciting market, actually. I'm kind of excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Now, another question, and this is something that you probably saw a lot, that with so many real estate agents in the market, there's a saying that I like to say, because I hear it a lot with my inner circle of colleagues throughout the country, is we're not all created equal, correct?
Correct.
And when you're working with an agent that doesn't have the experience, that doesn't understand the process, or maybe they're just, I don't know how to put it, they just don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And it's out there a lot. So what kind of advice would you give to both a buyer and or a seller on what they should look for in a real estate broker, agent, when they start the process to either buy or sell a house?
Yeah, so specifically with a buyer and a seller, you want somebody that's going to be open with their communication to you. You should never question where you are in the process, what they're doing for you, and how they're helping you accomplish your goals. That should be a conversation that's being had frequently. You should also have somebody that you feel like you can trust. How many transactions have they done? What's their close rate? Do they work full-time or part-time? You want somebody that's going to be doing this dedicated full-time, that's going to have your best interests at heart, and that's really going to work hard for you, not just sit back and expect for things to happen on their own.
Right. Yeah. So interviewing their agents.
Yep.
And I would have said the same thing: is ask, how many houses have you done? How long have you been in the business?
Yep.
Are you a full-time real estate agent? Because that's probably the most important thing. Because all agents are not created equal, right? And
there's a lot of people that do this as a side gig where they're not available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They can only help on the nights and weekends. And is that something that you want to help you through this process?
Right.
I wouldn't.
All right. Well, while you've got me, what questions do you have for me? I keep asking all the questions.
Yeah. Where do you see the market headed in the next 6 months?
Oh, wow. That's an open-ended question. I think what's going to happen in the short term, in the next probably 30, 60, maybe 90 days, there's going to be a retraction. But I think then what people are going to see that this is a normal. This is what has become the new normal. And once that happens, you'll start seeing a little bit more activity from those buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines. I think right now the biggest challenge is sellers, because sellers, they've been listening to all the news and all the pundits and every agent that lives on their street telling them that this is the time to sell and I can get you multiple offers and you're going to make so much money. And so now they're like, okay, it's my turn. Mm-hmm. And they've kind of missed that boat. They have missed that boat. So I think for them, they have to be realistic on what the value of their home is, and not to be over ambitious. Homes are going to sell what homes sell for, right? A market value is determined on what a buyer and a seller agree to, nothing else. Right. Now, if there's a demand for your house, you're going to get more. If there's not, you're not. So you have to really understand what's happening in the market. Forget about what happened 30, 60, 90 days ago and focus on what's going on right now. And I think it's important that you really look at the agent and the brokerage that you're working with and make sure that they've got the tenure, they've got the experience, and they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And a good buyer's agent makes a good listing agent. And a good listing agent makes a good buyer's agent. So I would look at that, and I would tell you, or anybody that was talking to you to use the fact that you've closed 98 transactions in the last 3 years, because what that means to the consumer, to the buyer, is what you're doing. You've seen it all. And that, I think, is more valuable than anything else, is because you've been in the fight. Right. And now the fight is changing a little bit, but you've still been there and you understand it. It's really a psychological and emotional game that we're in. Mm-hmm. And as long as you understand that and you can communicate that to your clients, you're going to come out on top.
Absolutely.
So, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for spending the last 15 minutes with me and sharing with our listening audience, our watching audience. And if anybody wants to ask you a question, why don't you guys feed us a comment, reach out to us, or give us a call.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk through anything you have questions about real estate wise.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashely.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That was